Yeah, but Pauline, I think monoculture is seen as too extreme a term. It suggests we don't allow for variations in background in this country, which are obvious around the country when you look at Indians, Italians, Sikhs, Chinese, Middle Eastern people. They're all expressing some elements of their culture while embracing Australian values.
Yeah, and if you talk to a lot of these people, also from different cultural backgrounds as I have, they said, we are Australians. We are so proud to be here. It's not just about the culture of a person, it's about the culture of the nation, who we are. Our traditions, our own cultures, our language, our dress, our laws. These are all monocultural, Chris. You can't have different laws. We don't have multicultural laws, do we? We have a monocultural law where everyone is treated the same under the one law. So if people have chosen to come to Australia, they know what they're doing. They say they want to come on board to be Australian. I think that's very important. I think that Angus Taylor, to actually criticise this, I think he's actually sitting on the fence. He can't make a decision about this. Are you Australian or you're not Australian? Do you want to just come here and take for benefit, granted what this country offers you, but you don't want to give your love to this nation?
Pauline Hanson, are you worried that One Nation's success will just cause more pain for the coalition in state and federal elections, change the mix of seats on the centre-right, but just help keep Labor in power?
That's ridiculous, because that's the only argument that they have got, is that it's all about them, that they're going to lose their seats, their positions. They are responsible also for the state of the country. Now, climate change started under the Howard government. He started the carbon emissions scheme. So a lot of these issues started way back then with the coalition. A lot of things I've had to pull them back. They would never have addressed immigration if it wasn't for One Nation. They would never have addressed net zero if it wasn't for One Nation. So I'm not going to stand back and say, oh, listen, don't worry about it. I'm not going to upset your little cartel, just you and the Labor Party. The Australian people have their say. I'm putting up my policies, what I want to do for the country. I want to drive this nation forward to get back prosperity, give the future generations some hope for where they're going to go in their life. So if the Libs don't want to, work with me, it's just ridiculous to use this argument that I'm going to destroy and hand it back to Labor. That's a load of rubbish.
Now, in your speech yesterday, you mentioned the failure of Indigenous policy in this country, billions of dollars spent with so many problems still apparent, the gap not being closed. How would you tackle the obvious social problems of crime and dysfunction in remote Aboriginal communities and town camps in places like Alice Springs?
It is, Chris, and it's not about the money. We poured so much money into it. Yes, there's no closing the gaps. Yes, your education. Yes, your housing. Yes, also the health issues. They're still on the rampant. They're actually going up and up and up. I spoke to an Indigenous woman who came up to speak to me. She said, we are not getting the money. There is so much corruption from these organisations that are just wasting the money. It's not getting to the grassroots. That's where you start, Chris. You have a complete audit of the Aboriginal industry, where the money has gone. I want accountability. I want transparency. And yet neither the Labor Party or the Coalition have been strong enough to make that happen. There has to be accountability. Now, these remote communities, they talk about they want their culture and all the rest of it. How often do we go out there and support those people on pastorals, graziers, those families that are living in remote areas? Do they get the assistance that these Aboriginal communities get? No, they don't. It's their choice to live in those areas. Maybe we need to have a look at why be so remote. I understand the cultural background to it, but we're not giving these people a helping hand and moving forward and getting them jobs, a decent lifestyle, employment, and to move forward with education.
Now, Pauline, you had a bit of a go at Canberra yesterday at the National Press Club. You said you'd try and avoid the place as much as possible. Are you more at home today in Townsville?
I love it up here. I am more at home in Queensland, Chris, by all means. But Canberra is a necessary evil for me. And although I met so many people, all those Comcar drivers, security guards and everyone like that, they're beautiful people. They say they love Canberra. Well, that's fine. I won't take up any extra housing in the capital city.
Thanks for joining us, Pauline Hanson.
Thanks.
Canberra, a necessary evil. Hey, I know a lot of people in Canberra don't like their nation's capital being
Quick
spoken
favour,
about in
if
those
you were the
terms,
kind
but
of
as
person who
someone
loves
who used to
Australia
travel there
and
a lot
wants
for
to
work,
stay
I know
ahead
the
of what is
feeling.
really happening in our country's politics, hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep this channel going. Over 90% of viewers have not yet, and it would mean the world to us if you did. Thank you. Now, back to the show. Pauline Hanson sat down with Sky News host Chris Kenny and proceeded to lay out an ideological blueprint so tightly argued that even her fiercest critics had to stop and take notes. This was not the caricature the major parties reach for when they need a punching bag. This was a leader delivering a complete vision for what Australia should be and daring anyone to explain why it is not already the case. Her starting point was the most radioactive word in Australian public life, monocultural, not multicultural, not a tapestry, not a melting pot, one culture, one set of laws, one national identity that everyone who comes here signs up to without negotiation. The backlash was instant. Opposition leader Angus Taylor distanced himself before the interview had even finished airing. But Hanson's logic was disarmingly simple. We do not have multicultural laws, she said. We have one legal system. If you want to live here, you accept it, not carve out exceptions, not demand parallel rule books. Accept it. That framing makes a lot of people deeply uncomfortable, and it is designed to. But strip away the heat for a moment, and you will find a question the political establishment has been dodging for 30 years. Is national unity built on celebrating our differences or on agreeing to a shared foundation that sits above all of them? Hanson's answer is unambiguous, and it is winning her votes that both major parties assumed were theirs by birthright.
Which brings us to the second thread of the interview, the accusation that One Nation is a spoiler, a protest vote that splits the right and delivers elections to Labor on a platter. Hanson swatted it away like a fly at a summer barbecue. The coalition has not bled support because of One Nation, she argued. The coalition has bled support because it abandoned the very people it was elected to represent. Immigration running hot with no end in sight, net zero targets punishing regional communities, climate policies drafted for inner-city dinner parties while working families stare at their power bills in disbelief. One Nation did not create those grievances, it simply showed up and gave them a voice. If you're getting something out of this breakdown, do not forget to like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us bring you the stories the mainstream coverage skips over. Then came the policy area where Hanson's critique cuts deepest, Indigenous affairs. Billions of dollars, decade after decade, and the gaps in health, education, housing and safety are not closing. In some communities, they are widening. Hanson's diagnosis is characteristically blunt. The money is being absorbed by what she calls the Aboriginal industry, layers of organisations and intermediaries who consume the funding long before it reaches anyone on the ground. Her proposed solution is a full forensic audit of every dollar, made public with no redactions and no excuses. When a system consumes billions and still delivers poverty, you do not call it compassion, you call it expensive failure. The interview closed on a note that was lighter but no less revealing. Hanson described Canberra as a necessary evil, a place she visits because the job demands it, but one she flees the moment the parliamentary week ends. Townsville, regional Queensland, the communities where people speak plainly and do not communicate in acronyms, that is the Australia she belongs to. The distance between those two worlds is not merely geographical, it is the entire story of Australian politics right now. Thank you for watching. We'll be back.